There are still crypto rebels out there doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. There was a secret crypto mine operated for months without detection in, I believe this is Massachusetts. A Cohasset employee charged with stealing thousands from town to power a crypto mine. Officially, Nadim Nahas worked for the town of Cohasset in the facilities department, but the Cohasset Police Department alleges he also secretly operated a cryptocurrency mine inside a crawl space in Cohasset Middle School High School, stealing nearly $18,000 in electricity from the district to do so. In December of 2021, school staff called Cohasset police officers after finding multiple computers, wires, and ventilation equipment inside a crawl space in the building that houses Cohasset Middle and High School. Police say the town's IT director recognized the setup as a crypto mine, and town investigators enlisted the help of the Department of Homeland Security to remove the equipment and examine it. Look at this, man. This guy had ventilation going and everything, my man. This is pretty fantastic in my humble opinion, because like, hell yeah, dude. This guy didn't just like plug up a couple and then stop there. He was like, no, sir. Please, we're going to have proper ventilation. We're going to make sure we take care of these rigs that are illegally mining in a school. After a 3-month investigation, police say the mine ran for 8 months, racking up $17,492 in electricity. They identified Assistant Facilities Director Nadim Nahas as the man who set up the mine. He's now facing charges of fraudulent use of electricity and vandalizing a school. Babson College Professor of Information Technology Management Steve Gordon is a cryptocurrency expert. He is unaffiliated with this criminal case, but explained the process of crypto mining to 5 Investigates. Quote, crypto mining is the way in which a network that supports a cryptocurrency is kept secure, he said. One of the reasons that they call it mining is that when a miner actually creates a new block, adds some transactions to the blockchain, they get rewarded with coins that are created out of thin air, end quote. We could say created out of thin air, or, part of the consensus mechanism to secure the blockchain. We know that basically it's not out of thin air. It's out of necessity for processing transactions and adding security to the network, right? This is what we know it as for miners. There is a value there, and there is tangible relation to the cost of power as well. High-powered computers must continually work to solve complex problems, aiming to validate connections and keep crypto transactions secure. When they are successful, miners are rewarded for their efforts with new coins, potentially netting thousands of dollars. Bitcoin miners, for example, get currently rewarded with 6.25 Bitcoins. Of course, this comes down to the halving cycle, and we'd have to talk about that. Here, coming up really soon in like April of 2024, we'll have the next halving, which will, of course, cut this down to 3.12 as far as the amount of Bitcoin, newly minted Bitcoin. But you do not only get rewarded with the newly minted Bitcoin, you also get rewarded with the fees for that particular block. So if somebody is going in and making a transaction, they pay a certain amount of fees to that block. And when that gets solved, you also get that as a Bitcoin miner, which is why I talk about really breaking out of the halving cycle and into what some call the macro cycle. Really requires the amount of Bitcoin, newly minted Bitcoin coming onto the network per block matches the amount of fees per block, right? That's why I say that's when I think we'll break into a macro market. But the high-powered computers must run constantly, in turn consuming a large amount of energy. Quote, it is estimated that the total amount of energy used in the Bitcoin blockchain would be enough to power a small country like Switzerland or something like that, end quote, Gordon said. In a place like Massachusetts, the cost of electricity eats any potential profits from mining. 5 Investigates, Karen Anderson, asked Gordon if it makes sense to try crypto mining anywhere in New England. Quote, not really, Gordon answered, not unless you make an arrangement at some point in time with an energy provider to provide it very cheaply. Now, of course, there is the Bitcoin mines that are in the like newly renovated dams and stuff. We've seen that on the Hobbyist Miners channel, of course. And with the company there that basically in New York, refurbished a dam to go ahead and mine out of that, there are these potentials for, use cases within the Northeast, but they're very few and far between, right? So instead, this guy stole it. Nahas resigned from his position with the town of Cohasset in March of 2022. When reached by phone, Nahas declined to comment. Nahas failed to appear in Quincy District Court on Thursday. A warrant has now been issued for his arrest. The dude's running to El Salvador. Just kidding. Let's see what happens, and we'll continue to follow this. Stealing power is bad, right? Like, here's the thing. As a crypto miner, it's important to understand something. If you genuinely believe that what you do is providing a service and it has value, then you have to believe that your value is tied specifically to how well and efficiently you utilize power. The only reason you should be being paid is that you actually do participate within the ecosystem by providing that power to the network. And if you are not paying for that power, then it is not your crypto, not your power, not your crypto. We've talked about this too before. As far as being careful when you are hosting and so on, because the negotiations of power purchase agreements, etc., being put to a single company can result, of course, in situations like we saw with Compass Mining, for example, where they didn't have good purchase agreements, etc., and had issues with and disputes with their power companies and their power distribution companies, right? And what that does is that puts you in a position where if you were renting from them, your equipment gets shut off for a time being. Are they still charging you? All that sort of stuff. Be very careful with essentially any type of rental, right? Any type of hosting program, that sort of thing. There's lots of good guys out there. I always put it this way. It's the easiest way to put it when it comes to hosting. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. I do not think that there is intentional malfeasance. Is that whatever that word? Is that the right word? I don't think that anybody's intentionally trying to screw you over if you're hosting with them. That being said, I think that a lot of people jump in to hosting, seeing it as a way to earn potential passive income. And like I've said before, I don't believe in passive income. And as it pertains to mining, it's very clear that there are a lot of factors, not only from your power company that you have to take into consideration, but also from the reliability of the miners that you host. And that can put you in a position as a hosting company that can be very, very dangerous. So you have to be extremely careful. And if you are, the person that is the hostee, right? You're sending your equipment to be hosted. You can end up in a position where it's like, well, you feel bad for the company that's hosting because they negotiated a bad power deal, or power got shut off for a time, or your miner started failing on them. All these kind of things. And it can come down to a lot of different things as well. Like, is the area cooled well enough? All that sort of thing to make sure that, whose fault is it? Is it if you have an Antminer S19 XP, right, that ends up taking a dump, or was it the hosting facility's fault because they didn't have proper ventilation? Or is it Bitmain's fault for, not building a reliable unit? And in the case of like maybe a T17, it's probably Bitmain's fault, but maybe in the case of an S919 non-XP, it's the hosting's fault. It's really hard to determine that. And I would ask for example, if I was having any hosting done, intake and exhaust temperatures on my unit, right? I would ask for logs coming out from it so that I understood what that intake and exhaust temperature was, so that I could either make a decision on whether or not to allow them to continue to host my unit, or if that temperature was at a point that I thought that it was putting it in a compromised position to melt those hash boards. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. You can check out the full episode here, or more crypto content down here. Also, I'd like you to check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com, where you can become a member for free, or choose to be a $5 a month supporter that unlocks additional content.